What is going on, RotoGrinders? I am Dean, and we're hosting. This is brand spanking new. We kind of did something like this not too long ago. This is the reboot. It's Card Stock After Lock. Hey, it's After Lock. Some of you guys are out there tilting the two-game slate. Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors, good times going down there. I got my eye on the game, but we're talking sports cards because sports cards are hot, and that's good conversation. And there's definitely a link between DFS players and sports cards collectors as well. And I'm going to yield to the experts on the panel. This is going to be, I believe, I'll hand it off to Will. He'll give you more information as far as what this show is going to be. He's heading this front. Will Priester, Chief Justice. Chief, what's up? What's going on, dude? I know this is something you're super excited about. We're talking sports cards, man.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited. This is something that's been in the works for a little bit. Obviously, we started, kind of at I guess I would say the beginning of Corona, and we went through a few months, and then of course all the sports converged on us all at one time: NFL, NBA, MLB, hockey, esports, golf. And so we had a little hiatus, but guess what, man? Baby, I'm back, and we are back ready to go. I'm so excited. Obviously, Dean was hosting with us before. Got my man Tyler Toe Tag and Tambo in the building. Tambo, what's going on in your world, my friend?
A lot of snow, my man. You know what it is up here in Canada, but I'm excited. Like I've talked from the beginning, I've been getting into cards. Like you said, I was always into them as a kid, got back into it during sort of the Corona layoff. We just sort of had like a perfect storm, right? You mentioned it, all the sports at one time, everybody locked up, nothing else to do. You got Facebook groups, you got Discords, you got YouTube channels, you got everybody out there doing sports card stuff. So it was really hard to not get back into it. So dig out some old stuff, find some values, think about the old Beckett's, but the digital age, my friend, everything is much more easy to use and utilize. So yeah, I'm back in it, man. Been loving every minute of it and starting quite the collection over here.
Dude, listen, so you brought up something that definitely took me back to my younger years, that Beckett book. Can you remember going in the store, buying that Beckett book, $4.50, $3.25, whatever, flipping through those pages? It's like, hey, how much is my Kobe Bryant worth today? How much is my Michael Jordan worth today? And now, like you said, man, with the digital age, we can track things so much more efficiently. We can see how the prices are rising or declining rapidly. And listen, that's where my good friends from Sports Card Investor come into play. They've got all the tools you need. If you're a DFS player and you're joining us today, one of the things you have to remember is that whether you're a member of RotoGrinders or any other site, you're not going to be successful in DFS without the tools, right? You've got to have the tools to be successful. And if you're in the sports card game, in the sports card hobby, in the sports card industry, you've got to have Sports Card Investor. One of the promos that we've been running, and we're going to continue to run it because we want as many people to be profitable as possible. Going over to sportscardinvestor.com, promo code RotoGrinders. That's going to get you 20% off your first payment. So whether you choose to go monthly, whether you choose to go yearly, 20% off this fantastic tool at Sports Card Investor. They've got a booming tool called Market Movers. You can go right in, look at cards in real time, see how much they've sold for over the past 3 months, past 2 months, however you want to set it up. It's something I use for my process religiously when I want to go in and buy a card or someone I'm high on or low on. You can really see the peaks and valleys of when they peak, when they've kind of grown. And so I think it's a fantastic product. You get that product at sportscardinvestor.com. Promo code RotoGrinders. Get you 20% off that first payment. We're going to kick it back up over to Dean so we can get this show moving.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm fairly certain, unless it's changed, I'm pretty sure the promo is Grinders. I think it's Grinders, and I'll leave off the Roto for savings.
Yeah, that's why we let Dean host the show, folks. We don't let the content people give out the promo code. Promo code Grinders. Back over to Dean.
And Jeff, of course, from SCI, Sports Card Investor, at some point, in theory, like we're just kind of figuring this out like on the fly, but in theory, he's going to be on the show. We're going to have a rotating cast. You guys almost definitely going to be here every single week. Well, I assume I'm going to be here too. We'll see. I'm not really sure. I don't pass myself off as a sports card expert in any way. But you mentioned the Beckett. I was the guy, I worked in the store. Now, I know I look young for my age, but I was like 12, 13 years old working in sports card stores. And I was the guy setting it up and selling it and, putting prices on cards. And I absolutely phased out of the industry. And now I'm just, I feel like I'm going to be kind of like the viewers. A lot of the viewers out there are DFS players, and maybe they used to collect cards and they're thinking about it. They're seeing people on Twitter talking about it. Like, well, should I jump back in? And, it's been pumped up a ton out there. Lots of guys. I mean, Darren Ravel is all into it. Phil Hughes is into it. We see people, talking about sports cards all the time. Even Tambo, you're talking about it there on your Twitter machine as well. And, we have the Discord here. We should mention this as well. This is free to join. The Discord channel here at RotoGrinders. Our fabulous multitasking producer is going to go ahead and drop it in chat for you guys. What chat is that? That's the YouTube chat. What's up, YouTube? Feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications and all that. We focus mainly, obviously, on DFS, but there is clearly a Venn diagram of DFS players and people that are collecting sports cards as well. But I am probably going to go on the same venture as some of our viewers of I'm getting back into the sports card world. And I'm going to learn because it's totally changed. Because like you said, you were referencing that, Chief. You were talking about, the Beckett. It's like, if a guy hit 3 or 4 or 5 home runs during the week, it's like, well, we go to a card show on Saturday or Sunday and like, oh my God, that card's jumped like 30% from the previous week. And now everything is real time. Like if Steph Curry puts up 40 points tonight, all of a sudden his card jumps 4, 5, 6%, whatever it may be. Yep. So I think that's one of the things that like my brain has to adjust to. Like it's been sped up. Is that a reasonable thing to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like your newspaper. We've got all these other news outlets now where, before my dad had to wait for the newspaper to be in the mailbox 7 a.m. every morning or 6 a.m. And now it's at the click of a button. You want to find out what's going on in real time. You go to all the news outlets. They've got, the subscriptions there that you can pay for digitally. I feel like it's a similar setup. And I mean, really, I think that's going to lead us, right into the first thing we want to talk about, Dean, which is why is now the time to get into sports cards. And I'm kind of going to give you guys some quick stories. When we started this thing up, earlier in the year, one of the things that I'm really big into in the sports card industry is personal forecasting. And basically what that means is if you've got to beat on something, if you've got to read on something, sometimes everything you say is going to go against maybe what the industry is saying, which is similar to DFS. If you're a DFS player, sometimes you're on a guy and nobody's on him. And, early in the year, this is kind of, one of the stories I've had. Everybody knows about it. But I was all in on Cam Newton. I was buying Cam Newton every week, every day, loading up. This was before Cam got signed. You're reading all the news outlets and you're listening to Stephen A. Smith and you're listening to all these guys. And they're saying Cam's washed. Cam isn't going to get signed. If Cam was going to get signed, he would have been signed already. And his card prices kept plummeting. I kept buying. I even wrote an article about it. And I'm sure you've read the article and Tambo's read the article. And I just talked about the fact that, hey, load up on Cam. He's going to get signed. It's just a matter of where. And if I'm not mistaken, in the article, I said in parentheses, the perfect world scenario would be the Patriots because that, they probably, everybody thinks, okay, Patriots Super Bowl. And sure enough, one Sunday, I'm outside on the grill. And I'm making some grilled chicken. I'll never forget it. And my phone starts buzzing. I pick up my phone and I say, oh, I just sold to Cam Newton. Keep in mind, I didn't know Cam had signed. And I didn't know they'd broken the news. And then another buzz and another buzz and another buzz. And I said, oh, my God, Cam just got signed by the Patriots. Obviously, that's a perfect world scenario. But my point is this. Why is now the time to get into sports cards? If you've got an edge, if you're interested in a hobby, if you've got players you like that nobody else is on and you can kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel, this is the time to get in. You don't want to get in when guys are overpriced and, and now you're not feeling like it's as interesting. It's just like the stock market. If everybody could have bought Microsoft, when Bill Gates quit at Harvard, we all be geniuses and we all be filthy rich. And it's the same thing in the sports card industry on a lower scale. So that's kind of my speech there to get us kicked off. But I'm really excited about this industry, where it's headed. And I know you guys are as well. Yeah,
and also it's important to know, like, even though Cam and the Patriots have not been super successful, you still made money off it. It doesn't matter. Like, you profited.
Exactly.
People can say, well, Cam's doing terrible. It doesn't matter. You already flipped it and you're out and you're good to go, right?
Yes, correct.
So I think that's an important part of the story as well, too. And I know you had some Mariotas. I don't know if you sold your Mariotas the last
I've sold a few Mariotas. As soon as he checked into the game, people started buying. I said, this is exciting. And that was another sneaky call. But hey, and we're same thing with Trubisky, same thing with Jameis. Now, obviously, the Jameis hasn't worked out as well, but all the other ones have. I mean, I'm pretty much 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-1 right now. So I'm feeling good about it.
Tambo, why is now a good time to get into sports cards? So talk about your entry or your re-entry. I don't know if you were big into it. I think we were talking about pre-show. You mentioned you were big into it when you were younger. I imagine you kind of went away for a second. Now you're back. Obviously, you're hardcore into it. What brought you back?
Yeah, it's just the spare time and having it. Will talked about it a little bit, getting, from a DFS perspective, I think, where you're always trying to be in that, even back to the Beckett days where I'm looking that up. That's like the statistical aspect of what we sort of do for DFS, where you're finding out, trying to get in on things early. And like you said there, Dean, back in the day, you'd have to wait and go to, I call it a flea market. You'd have to, one weekend to be this price, the next weekend is that, but you didn't have time to react in real time. And you really didn't have as much time to predict because you might not have had that information at your resources. We got news every day of possible signings, rumors of this swirling, all these factors that you can get in, and then what from your own personal knowledge. So I think one of the other big things for me is, I have never been a huge stock market guy. I've got some stocks, I've got some shares, but it's mostly blue chip stuff. You can do the same thing in cards. You can go and pick up, your Mahomes, your Lucas and whatever, and over time and hang on to them for a while. And they should continue to go up as long as these guys stay healthy and have good careers out of them. And that's where you can kind of get it in that way. But you can also be a little bit more speculative, and you don't have to be following the Q3 earnings report on such and such company. And it's not as fun to watch. You don't get to watch what they're doing every single day besides maybe commercials or things you see in the news with the stock market. With cards, it's like, if I want to get involved right now in Mitchell Robinson, right? Because I think he's going to have a big year. I can get in super cheap, so much so that I probably can't even lose money. Like, you can just resell it back or take a small loss. It's such a small hit, no different than anything else you purchase in life. Maybe if you sell it off at a yard sale, you sell it for cheaper, right? Because you just, whatever. But for the most part, if he goes and has a big year, I can not only monitor it in real time with a sport that I'm already watching, but now I can also go and make money off it and possibly make some big returns. And I think, a couple more things quick is just that, the exciting times we have right now, the grading process is slow to come along. That's going to get better. The facts of different sites having it almost like where you can almost day trade cards, which we'll get into, on future shows and whatnot and teach you guys some of that stuff. But like Will said, he's outside on the grill making sales. People talk about this all the time about making money in your sleep. That's exactly what it is, right? So you've got that opportunity there. Now, there is more into that. And that's what we hope to teach you guys and help you with is, I got a buddy who texted me a couple of weeks ago, says, dang, I left my Jalen Hurts cards up. I left them super cheap. And guess what happened? They sold because everyone went and looked for the cheapest Jalen Hurts cards they could find, and those were his. I got all my stuff. I got all my stuff marked up for speculation on what I think is going to happen. So you're doubling down, right? You're buying into them when they're cheap. You're then marking them up and having them for sale at a speculative price that you'd be okay with. That if the news breaks on Cam Newton, in your example, Will, then boom, you're fine with those cards all selling because they're selling at the price you wanted them to for the returns you wanted them to. So you really can control your own destiny in that sense. I don't want to go knit sweaters to sell on Facebook groups or do stuff like that. I want to collect cards. I want to sell cards. I want to watch sports. I want to do as much as possible in my life that I can do with sports. So I love doing these shows and this content with you guys. So realistically, that's just it for me. Dean got back into it over the break, dialed it in, learned as much as I possibly could, but I wish there was resources like this. And that's why I want to give back as much as I can to try and help people learn from some of the, what I would call mistakes. Others would call just experience. You pay your tuition or your dues. For me, it's a lot of fun getting back into it, and I'm going to have a lot of fun here chopping it up with you guys. So I'm excited.
By the way, Will, you have a financial background, do you not? I believe you do, and that certainly helps, I assume, in the card industry.
Man, believe it or not, this financial background helps on both sides of the fence, cards and DFS. And look, it's kind of. Listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'll never claim to be that, but I do know my stuff. And coming from the stock market background, it does help me to see trends and kind of try to monitor things and say, hey, this is something. And honestly, I think being in that world has allowed me to not be afraid to take chances. And that's the thing too. When you're in the stock market world, like Tambo talked about You know, sometimes even blue chip stocks are down. Like, you know, just because we're in the sports card industry or in the stock market industry or the DFS industry, you know, there's always going to be an opportunity to get in, you know, a lot lower than it should, right? Russell Westbrook has a few bad games, and, you know, we were paying $14,000 for him a couple of years ago, and, you know, last year we were paying like $9,500. Now look, you know, Russell Westbrook wasn't putting up a triple double, you know, every game last year. The principle of it is we always want to buy low, and we always want to sell, as Tambo put it perfectly, as high as you're comfortable with. And so that's kind of the name of the game in sports cards. And he even talked about Patrick Mahomes. Like, yeah, we look at Patrick Mahomes right now, and we think that, you know, Patrick Mahomes is maybe overpriced. But long term, if he wins another Super Bowl, he's probably underpriced right now. And so, you know, while you may have to pay a little bit more for a share of Patrick Mahomes, in the long run, he might be the Michael Jordan of football. And if
you're going to comp it to like a stock, or talking about stock market, would you comp him to like Amazon or Apple or something like that? Is that reasonable to say?
Yeah, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, you know, you name it. Some of those stocks that are going to explode, Microsoft, you know, all those stocks. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I really want to hammer this Patrick Mahomes. I didn't know where we're going to go here, but that's why this show is so fun. It's going to be interactive. Patrick Mahomes could be bigger than Tom Brady. Yeah, I'm putting it out there right now. If he wins a Super Bowl this year, he's got 2 in 3 years. He's been in the league 3 or 4 years, so he's got 2. And it doesn't look like the pieces are going to change too much. He hasn't even really hit his peak yet. And he could legitimately, you know, they've got him signed for 10 years, I think it is. What if Patrick Mahomes wins 5 Super Bowls in 10 years? 7 Super Bowls in 10 years. And look, it's football. He could get hurt. There are a lot of variables. But my point is, this is a guy that has the upside, and while he's expensive to buy right now, his upside is even a lot further than where it is right now. So and now that I'm talking about this, that's the article. I'm going to write an article about Patrick Mahomes. You got it live right here. Going to Market Movers. I'm going to pull up the data. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to write on it. Thank you, Tambo. You just gave me inspiration. I really meant to write about something else. But I'm thinking about this Patrick Mahomes situation, and I think it's a perfect segue into what we're talking about. Like,
well, let me give you one thing on Mahomes, because I literally just bought another of one of his higher end. I just bought an optic rated rookie PSA 10.
Yes.
Okay. I paid $1,300 American for it, which I'd say American because, you know, I'm Canadian. So this is an example. And you know, Herbert's out there, but I'm with you on. So they got him for 6 years. They got Kelsey for 6 years. They got Andy Reid and the general manager for 6 years. All kinds of things can happen. It's football. The playoffs are 1 game elimination. There's so many factors, but you're right. And what I'm looking at is the upside there. And now here's the deal. The one went off yesterday for $1,500. That's already $200 increase in the last week. Okay. Yeah. Second of all, and that's just one, it could go, someone on for 13, 50, 14. I'm just saying it's already where people are willing to pay that number. Now, let me tie it into something else. Sports betting, another place that people are looking right now in the market that's growing huge. Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP right now is minus 450.
Oh man.
Right. So if I bet, and now I'm going to flip back to Canadian for 2 seconds. If I bet 2,000 Canadian on that, I win 24.50, basically 24.44 Canadian, and make $444. And I got to, you know, I'm going to hold the card. I'm going to hold the bet. They're both going to sit there, whether I take one or the other. But the bet ends at 24.44 if he wins MVP, and I make that. The card probably makes more than that, to be honest. It probably goes up more than that because now it'll be a second Super Bowl. He could win a Super Bowl MVP. All these things could happen on top of this. This is the MVP for the regular season. Don't mind you what he does in the playoffs, wins the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl MVP. All that keeps going up. And on top of that, look how much more money I would have made with that card if I decide to release it then. But that's the point of which has more opportunity in it right now. That's the scenario. The second piece to me, and just ties into more than just Patrick Mahomes and why I'm excited about this market and getting back into it, is the fractional ownership piece. I know some very smart people out there have talked about it already, posted things on it. Jonathan Bales, guy I love and follow, he posted about it, and, you know, a big thing on it. And if you read into it, there's a lot of sites out there already. Rally Road, you know, a couple different ones we'll talk about on the show. I don't know if we can bring them up yet, but there'll be things coming down the pipeline to be excited about. And this is the example where you say, well, I can't buy into that. Well, you also might not be able to put $2,000 down on Mahomes. My whole point was whatever number you're putting down on him, $100 or $2,000, one is going to go up more than the other, very likely. And right now I see it being his card. And that's the second thing for the fractional ownership piece. You say, well, I can't buy that $1,300 card Tambo just mentioned. Well, no problem. When the fractional ownership hits and the ability to do so, you're going to be able to buy into these as your shares and watch them go up. And again, it will still be better than what that number is out there likely. And that's a thing for me. So I think it's huge. And I think Mahomes is definitely one of the guys. Luka would be the other, right? Where I just see that opportunity is now, even though the prices are more than you would expect to pay for a card back in the day. Well, it's new. It's a new world, and you can say the rich get richer, but there's going to be ways that everybody can be involved. They're already starting to produce themselves. So I'm in, and I'm in on Mahomes for sure.
I'm seeing some questions load up here in chat on YouTube. Again, feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We wanted to be interactive as possible. We didn't do any publicity for this show. We just kind of threw it up there, so we didn't really know what kind of reaction we're going to get on a random Tuesday night. A lot of people are watching basketball, obviously, with the opening of the season. But yeah, we're really happy to see you guys here, and we want to grow. And hey, if you want to talk sports cards, anytime, the RotoGrinders Discord channel, we're going to go ahead and drop the link for that as well. Now, our Discord has some premium channels, and there are some non-premium channels. The sports card channel is non-premium, so anyone can join that. Doesn't cost you anything. People are talking sports cards all the time, and Will, if somebody pings you in the Discord, I assume you'll answer a question. Head Chopper, brand new multi-millionaire Head Chopper, is a shout out to Chop. He's always lurking in there. I imagine he's buying some cards too before his wife finds out that he wants some money. Yeah, so
sure know when he buys that washer dryer.
Yeah, he's gonna splurge on a washer dryer set. So there you go. Good for him. Enjoy that washer dryer there, Chopper. Yeah. So talk about the Discord, because I see you lurking, and there's some people that are Brennan, who is probably gonna make an appearance here in the future. He's been on some of the previous shows. In the earlier element of this, he was phenomenal. He's super sharp. Tambo mentioned a card, Refractor something, and again, I know Donruss and Tops and Hoops and Score and Upper Deck, and I hear these things, these new brands, and I'm still trying to adjust to it. But he will tell you all about it, and it's a little bit overwhelming for somebody new or somebody trying to get back in. Hey, there's somebody in the Discord right now. What's up, Discord? All right, they're talking about rocks. See, here it is. Will, Rockstar's refractors. What is a Rockstar refractor? I have no idea what that is. You know what that is?
Come on, man.
I'm just hosting the show, man. I don't know. I don't pretend to be any sort of expert in this.
Listen, here's the deal. Anytime you're able to get a beat on it, right? And these are from some of the old tops, I think it's 90. It's either 96 or 97. And I'm trying to think, because you should know about this, Dean, because I'm sure you were in the industry then. But at any rate, it's like a die cut card. Some of them, they're really cool cards. And I'm with this guy. I think as a collector, you even just kind of want to buy in, even if you don't want to flip. I think as a collector, these are really, really, really cool cards. And you definitely want to get in on them. Let me see if I can pull one up here. And let's see where we're at. Hold on. Okay. I know. I want to get this in real time. Yeah, I see some for sale right now. $695, $29.50. They're already graded. This is Shaq. This is Jordan. That tells you where you are. So if you can get your hands on some ungraded for some really good players, send those things off and get them graded. And I think you'll be in the money really quickly. Dean, I want to shift for a second, because I do want to talk about what it looks like to maybe transition from DFS into the hobby. And I think obviously you transition from the hobby into DFS. Tambo's obviously been in it, transitioning back into it. I think it's really important to understand that you've got to utilize the knowledge that you have from sports and bring that into the cards. Like when you're looking at DFS, we've got the tools, we've got Lineup HQ, we've got articles, we've got other things that we use to kind of, forecast. We're trying to forecast immediately. The slate starts at 7. I need to say, okay, who do I need to play today, right? That's going to get me where I need to be so I can win 100,000, win 20,000, win 5,000. How do I beat this field of single entry players? Well, I want you to take that context and then let's put it into sports cards, right? And when we look at sports cards, it's a similar process. Now, maybe we're playing a little bit more of a best ball type scenario, if you will, where I'm buying for the season or buying for a couple weeks. But the concept is the same. Who are the guys that I can get, the best bang for the buck for and hold them for a little while if you want to flip. And then now if you get into maybe what we call a dynasty league, where there's a guy you remember going to have 5 years, 10 years, whatever, somebody that you think is going to perform well over the long haul every year, that's kind of when you get into some of those bigger names, like a LeBron, Dame, Steph. Those are guys you maybe want to buy now and say, hey, they might only go up $200 a year, but in 10 years, they may go up, $4,000, whatever. So that's kind of the process, I want to introduce here is when you're transitioning, take that same DFS approach, let your mind work for you, let the information that you have work for you. And, you'll look, some guys you're going to flip tomorrow, some guys you're going to flip 5 years from now, but, making sure you have a good collection of cards, not just one type, not just, one player, but kind of building yourself a portfolio, just like you would build a DFS lineup.
All right. Feel free to add on to that, Tambo, if you want. But otherwise, I guess we can knock out some questions here in chat. And, we want this to be as interactive as possible. On future shows, we're going to be talking about specific players and say, this is the reason why you want to get on board this. And I don't know, Will, if you want to say, well, we're going to talk about at least one of our favorite players to buy right now. You were telling us, I don't know if it was a super secret chat just between the three of us or the four of us, if you include Devin, a baseball player. And it's my understanding, again, I'm no expert, my understanding, buying cards out of season is a sharp move when you consider the asking price. You can speak to that in a second, but I wanted to ask Tambo, did you want to add on anything Will had to say, or I can fire some questions here? Some questions are lurking in chat.
I can try and put it all together into one package here, but one of the guys asked about the Herberts, right? And this is a prime example to what Will just said. Like, you got to make a decision. So Herbert, if you want to make some money right now, you're going to be up. He's talking about Origins at a 49 auto. That's a huge card right now. Oh yeah. If you want to sell that, you're going to make huge money on it right now. And you got to remember his season's going to come to an end and it's not going to be a big deal. So, about what Will's about to talk about is definitely the cyclical patterns, right? Like right now, him and I are buying baseball cards because baseball is not back yet. So everyone's trying to sell baseball cards are extremely cheap for just what they sold at last year. And I believe they're going to boom even more. We saw with some of it, anybody who was following, I'm going off topic here on every tangent because it's our first show and we're trying to have some fun with it, but use the Luka in the playoffs, switching back to basketball. Luka made a game-winning 3. The cards blew up that night. There wasn't enough supply on eBay, as an example, or these sites to keep up with it. And so the prices just kept going up over the next day and people were listing them and making big money. He dropped back down in the offseason. You could have picked them right back up, and now you'd be back to the same money they were worth when he made that 3 or just shy, and they're going to go back up. Like, imagine the Christmas Day game coming up here. Luka is going to be bigger than ever. So to tie it in, Herbert, you sell right now, you're going to make a lot of money if you think he's going to be the next big thing. And I do have a quick thing to talk about. I know we don't have all the time, but we're kind of just messing around on the first.
Good, man. Roll it.
I was just going to say that's Herbert. The reason I like him so much is not everyone likes him now. I get that. And these are where the new age prices are coming in. But I liked Herbert from the start because of where he was, the team he was with. Obviously, we had to have scenarios happen. I wasn't on him before Tyrod got his lung punctured by the doctor there. I'm talking about once you saw it start to happen, you think about a guy like Herbert is on a great team. If people don't follow the Chargers enough, they were banged up all season. They weren't, there was no anticipation there for them to win a bunch of games or anything. What he's been doing has been incredible. I had a harder time with a guy like Burrow, and it's unfortunate, the injury. This is well before that. I've been talking about this for months now with friends since getting back into it. I was like, the card values don't necessarily just go with the number one player overall or the potential rookie of the year. I would have sold Burrow if and when he got rookie of the year. Let's say he stayed healthy and it happened. Obviously, Herbert was still charging in on that anyway, pun intended. But you know what I mean? There was guys coming after him. and you look at it where like a guy like Burrow, I look at how did like Lamar and Mahomes get to their values at their highest points? They're on winning teams. They have chances to get to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl, win MVPs, et cetera, et cetera. I just didn't see that for Burrow on the Bengals in the AFC North. So I was selling anyway beforehand if you got injured or not. So, that's sort of my thought on that. So Herbert, it's where you got to make some decisions, to Will's point, of what you want to do short-term or long-term. But I definitely think Herbert could be a long-term hold, right? There's other things, real quick you could do is you could sell that, buy a couple other Herbert cards that you can find that you could that way have a little bit of diversity where you've got him and someone else just in case something was to happen to him. You still made money, reinvested it, and now you've got maybe a cheaper piece somewhere else with someone else where you can take a chance. But, man, these cards are worth a lot of money right now. So up to you on that point. Go ahead, Will.
Man, look, I'm looking in the chat, man, and this is just a comment. Like I said, I know we're hopping around on this show, which I like. I think it's cool. A good introductory show. This is for my man Eric. Eric says, "Man, I wish I kept my Kobe 96, 97 Chromes. Horror story. couple years ago, and I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago, listen, I had a pristine Kobe Bryant Topps Chrome 96, his iconic rookie card. Sold that thing ungraded, I think, for $300, $400, $500. If I would have got that thing graded, I mean, it's worth a couple thousand right now. Just terrible decision on my part. But I've more than made up for that over the long haul. But listen, I saw that's definitely something that speaks to me there. That Kobe card. I'm going to piggyback last thing because I know it's 8. I know we're going to get out. I'm with you in terms of how we need to approach Herbert and Burrow. In fact, now that Burrow's hurt, we're going to see where his cards end up over the summer. But he's probably going to be a guy we need to buy over the summer with speculation of how he's going to return. I mean, the guy was putting up numbers before the injury, and I think he's definitely a guy that over the summer, or let's say, after the Super Bowl, we'll want to start picking up for sure. Last thing, before we close this thing out, Dean. Yeah. Anybody that you want to talk about that you were thinking about buying? Because before, you were considering hopping right back in. And then let's talk about that from your perspective as someone that's not really in it. Like me and Tambo are in it right now, head first. We're looking, we're diving. What's kind of your perspective, as you kind of, put maybe one toe in at a time? What's kind of your thought process? And then maybe me and Tambo can answer some questions and piggyback and close this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I feel like I have a working knowledge of like who's good and who I think is going to take a leap and who's going to be good. And now, how do I apply it? How is that applicable to the sports card market? I don't have the brain to say, well, I got to buy a refractor, or this is the card I got to buy. This is why I'm going to lean on you guys. But LeBron's my favorite player. Miami Heat, my favorite team in basketball. So I feel like I have to buy a LeBron card first. And I was kind of looking at it beforehand, and then I just got phased out and got distracted. I'm easily distracted for some reason, but I'm jumping back in. And there's that. Is there a card? I'm just curious. I'm just making this up. That famous picture of Wade and LeBron. LeBron's dunking. Which one's which? Which one's doing which? One's dunking and the other one's like doing like the kind of like the celebrating, like he gave the assist. Do you know what I'm talking about? You guys know that famous picture of LeBron and Wade? Yeah. There's got to be a card of that, right? I don't know.
There's probably one somewhere. If not, there's definitely an autographed picture somewhere. But in terms of LeBron, and I'll let you hop in on this one too, Tambo, because we're about 2 minutes over. We're trying to keep it at 30. If there's anything that I would buy from LeBron, it's either and with LeBron, you can buy Topps Chrome, either of those rookie cards, PSA 9, PSA 10. LeBron's one of those players, in my opinion, that's almost like Michael Jordan. By the time he retires, PSA 8s are even going to be worth good money, and maybe even PSA 7s. And I know his card is a little bit more modern than that iconic Jordan Fleer card that we're talking about. But LeBron's one of those iconic players where you might even be able to get in on a PSA 8 right now, or PSA 8, and after he retires and goes Hall of Fame, I mean, that thing's just going to skyrocket. So that's my spiel. If you want to buy LeBron, you can get in at an affordable price. Dean, earns money all the time. He's a rich guy, and that's my spiel on LeBron. Tambo, what you got, my man?
Well, I'm just going to add to that. I think that's an interesting point. Our producer Devin's going to let us go over here. The chat's still bumping a little bit, so I don't mind. Keep chatting here. I love it, but
I'm good to go.
You brought up a good point with that's the thing right now, right? And that's why, if you've got the money to spend, I love buying the 10s, because the 10s are just going to be so valuable in the long run. But the 9s are really, I would say, undervalued, because like people just treat them like dust. And it's like you just said, like you see some of these ones selling now, these retired guys and stuff like that. Like what was the Gretzky was the 10s the other day for millions, but you go look at like some of his, I'm seeing like these KSA, which is like a Canadian grading company, like 7s and 8s that are still selling for big 4 figures, 5 figures. Like these are still huge. And the idea of this in these big names like a LeBron, everyone just gets, turned off by it when they go see, 30,000 for this card. There's just no way. Well, one, we already talked about earlier, fractional ownership is going to be great for that. You're going to be able to get in still, which I'm definitely going to hop in on. And then 2, you can try and get your way there at the little bit lower end. 9s are still going to be awesome in the long run, right? We're just sort of at the little bit of the beginning of this. I'm with you. I'm buying a little bit more baseball. As football ends, I'll be looking to see what I can find on certain guys. Like some people will still want to get the money out of certain situations where they'll just try and they'll still be way up. So it's good for them. Like you mentioned it before, those Kobe's, you made money at $300 to $500, I'm assuming. But the challenge is now looking back saying what could have been if only I knew, right? And that's always going to be the case, but get out when you feel comfortable. As long as you made money and you're happy, even if you decided the time was now to get out and it was a break-even point, but you just wanted to get out because you're worried of the future, that's okay too. That's sort of the idea of this. You can get in for a little bit cheaper, than maybe traditional here, right? It's easy to go on eBay or a group and buy a card and get it in your collection. And then you can get out when you want to get out. So I'm with you, but I'm sticking mainly blue chips in baseball right now. One of the challenges I have with baseball, and I'm excited for it for this year because last year I wasn't as big into it, but I'm buying a lot of Acuna, Tatis Jr., Tatis Jr., Soto, these types of guys where I think there's more upside, sort of the picking the next guy like that, where they'll always have name value. Their teams are decent. Like there's ways to make money that way. But this year I'm excited to prospect it a little more within the teams that I think are going to have opportunities or where guys can pop. Because like I said, we see it. It only takes one or two big games. And the next thing you know, that goes off. So we'll talk more about other stuff. I see the chat talking about, retail hobby, boxes to buy at Walmart or Target. We'll definitely get into all that stuff. What's the brands to buy and where you can make the most and opportunities in that way. We'll talk PSA versus BGS. We'll talk all kinds of stuff with you guys that'll help get you off on the right foot. But as they mentioned earlier, guys, the RotoGrinders Discord is the place to be. It's free. You can get in there. I learned plenty when I was first getting back into it, just trying to catch up on things and things, same questions you're asking right now. And then I just dug in for 6-7 months strong of being more involved. But Will, you can drop it. Don't you have a baseball player? You want to leave the people with a player?
Listen,
is it too early? You didn't get them all yet.
Well,
he wants them all to himself. Look at this guy.
Listen. No,
Gavin Lux, good value. Yeah, someone mentioned Gavin Lux. I like that one. Go ahead.
Let me tell you why. Because we can say what we want to say. Here's what I realized. It doesn't matter if I tell you what I think. Everybody's still not going to adjust to it. We're still going to have our opportunities. I'm telling you right now, Miguel Andahar is a guy I'm on heavy right now. A guy that was playing outstanding, had a major injury. Listen, folks, I'm talking about PSA 10s. I mean, we're getting them at bottom of the barrel prices. And Tambo knows because Tambo's, I think, hopped on the train a little. I'm not saying Tambo's about to put his life savings on there. But listen, we're getting cards. I'm talking about PSA 10s at very low prices. If this guy comes out, I'm already telling you, I don't think he's going Hall of Fame or nothing like that or anything like that. But he comes out and hits 2 home runs in a game. You better believe everybody's going to eBay. The card prices are going through the roof. And that's the approach I take. And honestly, now that I'm on that, you've kind of got to know what type of investor you are. Like I'm always long-term, I'm always going to buy LeBron. I'm always going to buy Luka. Those are my long-term holds. Like I'm not even looking to sell those. But when I'm on Gleyber Torres, that's a guy I'm buying right now. And I'm saying, hey, I'm getting them at $20. I'm selling them at $200 or $150 or whatever I'm comfortable with. And then I take those profits and I say, okay, I just made $2,000. Do I want to buy a LeBron? Do I want to buy a Luka? Or do I want to reinvest in maybe another guy like Gleyber that I feel like I can ride the wave on, take those profits at the right time? It's almost like, think about it like this. It's almost like your cash games, right? You're not playing cash games to win $1 million. You're playing cash games to grind it out. You got 100 on the line. You play some double ups, you get 200 back. You play 100 the next day or whatever, you get 200 back. And slowly but surely, you build that bankroll. And then when you've got where you want to be, then you go out and buy your home run card. So not Gleyber Torres, Miguel Andahar is a guy I'm on. He's just too cheap for what could happen with this Yankees team, especially when they're always going to be plus EV to win a World Series. So just a guy I'm on, and we'll that'll be our little nugget for today.
Hey, Tim, I want to ask you a couple of questions in the chat. I know we're over time, but we're going to stick around just a few more minutes. Best holds are sealed products, according to Eric, and he feels like we should do a show on that. Yeah, we welcome all show ideas, and that's the thing is like people want to open up. It's a lot of fun to open it up and doing the breaks, and those are huge right now. We're even talking about potentially doing that on a future show as well. But is that something that you do? Like you would invest in just having the box? Because I know, if you have boxes from years ago, I mean, if you have the star basketball from like 85, 86, you're like Scrooge McDuck and the gold coins. It's good. I don't know how that translates to loonies and toonies, but it's a lot of money. I trust you. Trust me on that. Is that something you would invest in? Are you somebody like, again, what kind of investor are you? Do you want to open it up? That's fun to do too. Can you just is that something that you're attacking, just buying a box and saying, I'm going to hold this for the next 5-10 years?
Definitely. And the thing about it is, it's described a little bit around the industry as sort of like a mutual fund. And so it's, as Eric mentions, I talked to Eric in the past here, is less player dependent. So for example, the 2019-20 class in the NBA was Zion, Ja, Reddish, there's a bunch. That's just some I'm spitting off right quick. It's loaded, right? The class is incredible. We think this is going to be one of the best classes in a long time. Well, instead of having to worry about, do I go buy Zion or do I buy Ja or do I get both or how do I make this work? You buy those boxes because everything that goes good with. And what if it's not those two? What if Ja sort of is just, Derrick Rose situation or anything, knock on wood, I'm just saying like situations could happen or Zion doesn't pan out or whatever might be the case. They're hot right now because of that. Like a Burrow was, and then a disgusting injury that's so unfortunate. It just can happen, but it goes the same in football right now. There's certain classes, are good, certain classes you're not behind, but that's why you hold that wax. If you look at Luka's stuff and go back and look at, Prism from that year, these boxes are like the price is godly. It's like what, 6,000-7,000 for a hobby box that you can find out there. Even the optic stuff is expensive. So we'll get into more of that in the future, but yeah, definitely less player dependent, more of like a mutual fund. You're getting access to it all. It should hover the same or continue to go up because the other thing too is, there's cards in there that if they're not found type of thing, right? These numbered cards and these situations where people are going to be chasing it. I had this situation happen actually with Tiger Woods rookie cards. And the rookie cards were going for $400 or $500 American on eBay, but you could buy the box from that year for $30. So that's an opposite situation. It was actually cheaper for me. I buy 5 boxes for $150, open it, hope to get 1 or 2 of these rookie cards. Even if you got 1, you were smashing. If you got 2, and then you got to get them graded, and there's more process. We'll get into all that in the future. But the idea of like what Will said, you have to know what you're doing. I mentioned the Andahar situation earlier, not with his name, but with the style. If Will just goes and buys those cards and lists them for what they're worth right now, what was the point in buying them? Right. You got to go list them at a stupid price. Not stupid, like you're not trying to rip nobody, but the point is you're listing them for when that blow up happens. And that when people go to buy it, that's the price they see him buy. You don't want to be the guy holding it with the price that you paid for it. And there's fees involved and all that. Again, we're going to get into more of this stuff in the future. There's lots of angles and things to talk about. There's lots of things that I did wrong that I'm still learning from and getting better at as we go along. So kind of love the aspect, love the, idea of, Will's for sure the expert here. I'd say I've been more dug into it over the last 6 and 7 months. And then Dean, you got the fresh look coming from the outside in and asking some of the same questions. Plus we've got all the people here to watch with the interactive set. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm really excited. This was a good first show and just happy to be here with you guys. It's going to be good. Final word, Will.
Listen, man, I'm excited as well. I do want to let you guys know we're going to have this show usually on Wednesdays. I'm going to drop that article. I'm going to write an article on Patrick Mahomes. I already talked about it. So that's kind of going to be the first one that we release. I can't guarantee you that this one's going to come out tomorrow. I'm not going to guarantee that. But here moving forward, show on Tuesday, article on Wednesday, and we'll have some insights and we'll dig in. You'll get to see what I'm looking at Sports Card Investor. And that way, you guys can kind of see what we're doing, how we arrive at some of these conclusions, and you can go out and invest in some of these cards for yourselves.
Yeah, and in the future, we're again help us produce the show because we want to put on what you guys want to see. We're going to answer as many questions as possible too. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to all of them there in the YouTube chat. Just if we didn't answer your question, still please like, subscribe, hit the thumb up. We'd appreciate that. And if your question wasn't answered, go to the RotoGrinders Discord. That will be answered there for sure. If not by Will, make sure to ping him. If not by Tyler, somebody in there will help you out. And there's tons of knowledge going on there as far as the sports card market. And Tyler was talking about, Tambo was saying that's where he learned a lot of things. A lot of sharp people that are lurking. And some of them will be popping up on future shows. The future shows we're going to show off our mail day cards for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Dean, not to cut you off, but another thing about the Discord is there's some incredible cards in there. Some of these guys have some absolute, what we would call quote unquote monsters. And these are like big dog, $30,000, $40,000 cards that they're posting up saying what they got for their mail day and whatnot. So keep an eye out on that. I like showing stuff off. I like having some fun with it that way. We'll definitely do some show and tell on here in the future. But I was just going to say, that's another thing about the Discord. Great place to see some good ideas, some cards in there. We'll talk some names. Will drop some players for us to go pick up. Kendrick Nunn is another guy I know Will was talking about. There's going to be some opportunity there. Opportunity knocks, right? Everyone's on Hero. But if Dragic's going to sit some games, and he will, we'll see some opportunities there for some big Kendrick Nunn games, and people will stumble in later on, but we'll be on them already. So love it, man. Continue on, Dean. Sorry to cut you off. You can tell I'm excited.
You're all good, man. Yeah, this can be fun. Once a week, I guess Tuesday night is the plan. And again, you guys help us produce the show. Join the Discord. Well, people will answer your questions there, or just say, hey, see, maybe you guys can answer the show. We'll do our best to do that. Of course, the best way to do it, join us live on YouTube and ask us questions there in chat. We'll leave some a lot of time going forward. That said, that was Chief Justice. That was Tambo. I was Dean. Thanks to Devin for producing. This was Card Stock After Lock. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, hit on the notifications. We'll talk to you guys next Tuesday. We're out of here. Holler.